See, first come the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then my team was 6-10, and we ain't smell the playoffs. Yeah, I seen the Super Bowl, but I heard they display balls. A lot of teams had injuries. Sam Bradford had to take off. Go hard in the offseason, but you don't know the half. Before you know, we gon' look up, and we ready for the draft. They dressed up in that suit tie, and I don't know how to act. They waiting, so patient, so they can put on that hat. Who else could it be? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks you where you was at, you tell her you in the lab room. Who else could it be? Who? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks where you was at, you can tell her you was in the lab room. Yeah. In the lab room.
Who else could it be? But me, your me, Louis T. Welcome. Are in the lab room. This is the In the Lab Room podcast, episode number 7. Man, this is a jam-packed show. We got a lot to get to. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk. I'm in a real listy mood today, okay? A real listy mood this week. So we're going to have our rookie wall. Then we're going to have the list. Later on in the program, going to be talking about best home field advantages in the National Football League. We'll also talk about different teams and different situations. Going to pull out the challenge flag for the first time on the program today, later on. And I got to get some players. I got to get some teams. We're going to get them later on. Get them. We're going to do that later on. But first, you know what I got to do. It is mandatory to drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man Louis T-double-E. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Time to impart this knowledge on your brain. Penalties. We got to talk penalties, man. And I referenced this in one of the early episodes on the podcast, and it was something, it was like a comment just passing through. I just said, hey, a lot of penalties in week 1. Let's hope that the officials and the players and everyone involved cleans this up and this isn't a problem moving forward. I think that was pretty much the gist of my comment, and we moved on. Didn't even spend any time on it. I just made a comment and we moved on. That was my wishful thinking, that the first week of the season, everybody's a little rusty, kind of getting in to settle into what's going on in the season. You know, you're shaking off the preseason rust. Players, coaches, even the referees to an extent. Everyone's got a little bit of rust to knock off in that first week. So what I said was, hey, everybody's rusty. I get it. Let's clean this up, fellas. And this was as a collective group. Players, coaches, referees, everyone. Let's clean this up. And now it's getting out of control. Okay, now we're at the point where it's starting to become a real problem. Let's talk penalties. I mean, this is something that it's slowing down the flow of the game. They're starting to call ticky-tack things, and I know the NFL actually made a point to the referees, hey, we want you to enforce the rules. We want you to pull out those flags if necessary. But this is getting out of control now. Week 1, 206 penalties. That's not uncommon for week 1. I didn't bat an eye at that. I just said, hey, a lot of penalties. It's week 1. We'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. We're okay. Week 2, different story. That was something the league's never seen before. An NFL record, 298 penalties. Yes, folks, almost 300 penalties in 1 week of football. Unheard of. They followed that up with a 229 week 3 performance in terms of penalties for a grand whopping total of 733 penalties over the first 3 weeks of the season. Are you kidding me? And these aren't even considering and factoring in the 116 penalties that were declined and the 24 penalties that were offsetting in the first 3 weeks of the season. Not to mention the, I made a mistake, there's no flag on the play pickups that we've seen over the first 3 weeks of the season. Hell, you could toss in another 50 of those. So this has been an epidemic this season, one that cannot continue for the rest of the year. We're talking about 15 penalties a game, folks. Do you realize what I just said? 15 penalties a game. You're talking about basically 4 a quarter. And you know, like I know, if you watch football, that's not how it's broken down. You're getting 8 penalties in the span of a 5-minute stretch, and the game is just taking way too long. It's slowing down the flow of the game. Not to mention, you still got challenges, you still got timeouts, you still got injury timeouts, you still got TV timeouts for the games that are actually nationally televised. It's just too much. I mean, what are we doing here, folks? It's getting to the point now where teams are actually complaining about the amount of yellow on the field to the league. Hey, guys, what are we doing? I've never seen so many offensive pass interferences in my life. That's the one that has stuck out to me the most. Yeah, there's been a lot of holding. There's always a lot of holding. Hell, there's holding on every single play if you want to be technical about it. Hands to the face is one that's starting to be called a lot, but we knew that was going to be emphasized last year, and they really started to crack down on that last year. But the one that stands out to me the most, and we know the illegal contacts, the pass interference, those are going to be called. The one that stands out to me the most is offensive pass interference. They've really taken a hard look at that, and they've taken a hard line stance, drawn a line in the sand and said, hey, we're not taking the offensive pass interferences anymore. If you don't look like you're actually running a route, you've got to sell this. There's no more running and crashing into a guy and setting a beautiful pick and having that free up a receiver for a big gain or a touchdown. Those days are over. They've made it a point of emphasis. If you don't look like you're running an actual route and just happen to get into the way of a defender that's trying to guard a receiver, you're going to be flagged for offensive pass interference. OPI is up big time this year. And there is no way that I could have seen this coming. They say all the time, we're going to put an extra emphasis on this. But, you hear it, you take it with a grain of salt, you're like, okay, whatever. No, they're actually calling OPI now. And it's not just on the pick plays. If you push off, they're calling OPI. They are throwing the flag like it used to be a foregone conclusion when a flag was 40 yards down the field, pass interference on the defense. You could pretty much make a safe assumption and say, okay, yeah, that's on the defense. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore, and you can't assume that when a flag is somewhere around the line of scrimmage, that it's on the offense for a procedure penalty or a pre-snap penalty, or it's on the defense for something around the line of scrimmage, a holding, offsides, something of that nature. You just can't assume anymore because there are so many OPI penalties now for the illegal pick. It's out of control right now, but they've got to do something. 200 penalties every single week. Unbelievable. The Cowboys had 18 penalties in week 2, and that was just the accepted penalties. You've got teams in double digits every single week. That was a franchise record for the Cowboys. And we've seen some really bad Cowboys teams when it comes to penalties. Hell, Flozell Adams used to be good for 5 penalties every game. 18 in one game? And you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams in double digits every week for penalties. 15 per game. That's what we're looking at right now. That's got to stop. That's got to come down. That number cannot stay that high for the remainder of the season. These penalties right now are a problem. They've got to take a look at this. And they've got to realize that you can't throw a flag on every single thing. And the players need to take some of this blame as well. Okay, this isn't all on the officials. This isn't all on the league. The players are just as guilty because they're committing the infractions that force the hand of the officials. They've got to be smart. A lot of blocking the back. So, every single special teams play, I'm expecting a flag now. It's gotten to the point now where, okay, somebody's holding. There's a block in the back somewhere. Go ahead, throw the flag. I'm expecting to look up at the top of the screen, see a yellow icon and the word flag inside of it somewhere, and I know that something's coming on special teams. That's how bad it is right now. Something's got to change because these penalties are out of hand. And this is an epidemic that cannot sustain the length of the 2015 NFL season. Let's hope for our sake that it doesn't, because it's been tough watching some of these games with all of the yellow laundry on the field to start this season. You move on to the rookie wall. And this thing is starting to heat up, folks. The first couple of weeks, guys were making plays, but you had to find 7 guys. You were searching and you were rummaging through the rookie pool and you were trying to pick out 7 guys. And at some points in the season, it was tough. Last week, I was having to swat guys away. And there's a lot of guys that deserve to be on this list that are not going to make it. 7 spots, 7 rookies. Let's talk about who were the rookies that made the list last week. Coming in at number 7 last week, Tyler Lockett, Seattle Seahawks. Punt returner, kickoff returner, wide receiver. Number 6, Jameis Winston, quarterback, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 5, Amir Abdullah, AA, Detroit Lions running back. Number 4, Brandon Sheriff, offensive guard for the Washington Redskins. At number 3 last week, David Johnson, running back of the Arizona Cardinals / kick returner for the Arizona Cardinals. Coming in at number 2 last week, Marcus Peters, cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And holding down the number 1 spot for 2 consecutive weeks, number 1, Marcus Mariota, quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. So you go on to the week 3 edition of the rookie wall. A lot of new entries this week. A lot of guys went out and balled as rookies and deserve to be on this list. So we got 3 new entries to the list this week. And frankly, I should be ashamed of myself because one of these guys that is on the list this week should have been on this list already a week ago. So he was robbed. So rightfully so, he's on the list and he's very high this week. So let's jump into the rookie wall for week number 3 in the National Football League, the In the Lab Room podcast rookie wall. You come in at number 7, Jordan Hicks, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. This young man continues to impress. Didn't expect him to see the field as much as he has, but through circumstance, couple of injuries, Kiko Alonso probably done for the season. Kendrick's dealing with a little bit of an injury. This guy's had to see the field, and he's played well. Against the Jets in the Eagles' first win of the season, Hicks came away with a fumble recovery and a interception to boot. So he was huge in the 4 turnovers that the Eagles were able to force on the defensive side of the football. He had his hand in 2 of them, landing him smack dab on the rookie wall list for week number 3. Jordan Hicks, linebacker, Philadelphia Eagles, making some noise for that Eagles football team and that defense. You go to number 6, Ronald Darby, cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. He probably could have been on this list already. Week 1, he picked off Andrew Luck. He had a strong preseason. He should have been on the radar already. kept him off until week 3, but I cannot deny this young man any longer. Another pick in week 3 on the road against Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins. And the Bills' huge blowout win on the road, 41-14 over the Dolphins. Darby has been outstanding thus far. 2 interceptions in 3 games. This young man is playing top-notch football. And you know Rex Ryan puts a lot of pressure on his defensive secondary because he blitzes an awful lot. When you blitz, your secondary, especially your corners, have to be able to stand up in man-to-man coverage. Ronald Darby has done that exceptionally well early to start his career in Buffalo. He's number 6 on this list. You go to number 5, guy that's been on this list for the first 2 out of 3 weeks. Now, I don't think he was on the list in week 1, but he was on the list last week. Cannot deny this man, even though he didn't have a stellar game in week number 3 versus the San Francisco 49ers, still had a huge impact thus far on the season. 3 touchdowns in 3 games. I'm talking about rookie running back for the Arizona Cardinals / kick returner David Johnson. He's pretty much living off of what he's done in the first 2 weeks. He did not have a huge impact in week number 3, but he was number 3 last week. He's fallen down 2 slots, but this guy has been an impact player for that Cardinals football team. Thus, he still remains on the list at number 5. You look at number 4. Marcus Peters, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs. Cornerback. Here's a guy that didn't get the ball thrown in his direction a lot on Monday Night Football. Now, you can spin this one of 2 ways. You can say that Aaron Rodgers realized that the young man is a baller and stayed away. Or you could just say, hey, there were so many different places that Aaron Rodgers could go with the football. Marcus Cooper. One of their safeties was pressed into cornerback duties because of the injuries in Tyvon Branch. They lost Gaines, one of their cornerbacks, and throughout the course of the game. You know they're already without Sean Smith serving a suspension. So they were thin at the cornerback position, and there were other places for Aaron Rodgers to go. And so you could say that that's why he didn't attack Marcus Peters for the majority of the night. Or you could just realize that the guy is a baller. The kid can play football. Why try him if you don't have to? He remains on this list, has been on this list all 3 weeks. I expect him to remain on this list for the majority of the season. This guy is a football player. You move on to number 3 on this list. Tyler Lockett, Seattle Seahawks, wide receiver / punt returner / kick returner. He's been on the list all 3 weeks. Easily could have been off the list last week. Hung in there by the slimmest of margins at number 7. But shot back up the rookie wall. He's climbing up that wall back to number 3 this week after a really big play in that Seattle Seahawks win over the Chicago Bears. The Seattle Seahawks, they were lifeless in that game. 6-0 at the halftime break. The Bears weren't putting up much of a fight on the offensive side, but the defense kept the Bears in the game. And then Tyler Lockett, opening kickoff of the second half, 105 yards to the end zone, makes it 13-0, and that really opened up the floodgates for the Seattle Seahawks in that football game. He's the first rookie in NFL history to have both a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown as a rookie in the first 3 weeks of the season. So, you know, he's doing big things thus far in his young NFL career. Tyler Lockett coming in at number 3 on the rookie wall. You move on to number 2. This is a guy that you could argue didn't belong on the list in week 1, but he should have been on the list in week 2. There was no excuse for this. And so I apologize sincerely. And he went out and balled again and said, hey, man, is that enough to get me on the list? You damn right it is. I'm talking about Oakland Raiders receiver Amari Cooper. He deserved to be on this list before this week. And he definitely is on the rookie wall in week number 3. Huge game, 100 yards before the halftime break. And a lot of those yards came against Joey Snatches, a.k.a. Joe Hayden, one of the best corners in the entire National Football League. And he was balling against Joey Snatches. Started early, put his work in early, 100 yards before the halftime break. That's big-time football. He's been the go-to target for Derek Carr. He's a huge part of the reason why this Raiders offense, for the second consecutive week, looks like a really good offensive machine. 37 points 2 weeks ago versus the Ravens. Last week, 27 more against the Browns. Amari Cooper, 2 straight 100-yard performances. He's number 2 on this list, and for a reason. You go to number 1, and until somebody takes the championship strap away from Marcus Mariota, he's going to remain number 1 on this list. Tennessee quarterback Marcus Mariota continues to amaze each and every single week. Wasn't able to get it done, and I had said this on my show, on my YouTube channel. I had said this on various platforms that the Titans simply weren't ready. They weren't ready to be the team in the AFC South division just yet. Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts, despite all of their problems, they're not ready to relinquish that crown to the Tennessee Titans yet. But damn it, Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans gave it a run. And he put them in a position to win that football game. He also made some mistakes in that game through his first 2 interceptions of his career. Honestly, I'm only docking him 1, okay? That first interception, ball is punched out of the hands of Delaney Walker into the arms of a Colts secondary member who takes it to the crib. I should dock him an interception for that feeble attempt at a tackle. What was that all about? That was the biggest L.A.B job I've seen since a punter trying to tackle a kick returner for a touchdown. That was pathetic. But all in all, Marcus Mariota has been the best rookie in the league by far, hands down, and he continues to be number 1 on this list. Put his team in a position to win that football game. They fall 35-33, but not without some late game heroics. He took his team down the field, got them the touchdown to close within 2. I didn't like the play call on the 2-point conversion. That's nor here nor there. Marcus Mariota, balling, and deserves to still be the number 1 player on the NFL rookie wall here in the lab room. And he remains at the top spot. Somebody's got to take him off. Somebody's got to take the championship strap away from Marcus Mariota. Until then, he's going to remain at the top of this rookie wall. And so that's the list. Quick honorable mentions. Going to run through these quickly. A lot of guys are playing some good football as rookies. DGB, a Marcus Mariota product out there in Tennessee, had a really good game. Another touchdown 2 weeks in a row. He's had a touchdown catch, had some big gains in this game. He's really starting to progress in that Titans offense. Ty Sambralo, tackle for the Denver Broncos, was thrusted into the left tackle position. This guy was drafted to be a right tackle. He's had to play left tackle, and I don't even know if he was slated to start this season. I think they had other plans, but he's had to play, and he's been solid thus far. Amir Abdullah, guy that's going to be on this list quite a bit. First time not being on the list in week 3, but trust me, he'll be back on this list at some point. Mitch Morse, a guy that I don't think the Chiefs had a lot of expectations for in his rookie season. Starting at center, it gives you versatility, can play both guard spots, has been outstanding for them in the middle of their offensive line, and they've had to do a lot of shuffling along that offensive line thus far in the season, but he's been one of the constants for the Kansas City Chiefs. Andrews Pete, first-round pick of the New Orleans Saints. You expect a guy like this to come in and play, and he's played very solidly. They've gotten off to a rough start, but it's not because of Andrews Pete not doing his job at the left tackle position. Jameis Winston, I thought he gave his team a chance to win against Houston. A lot of missed field goals, a lot of dropped balls, a lot of missed opportunities in that football game. He did have an interception, which is something he'll have to clean up, but all in all, I thought he performed solidly. The numbers don't do him justice. He was on this list last week, but he did not perform well enough to remain on the list this week. Brandon Sheriff had been on the list for the first 2 weeks of the season, but him and his offensive line mates did not get it done in week 3. on Thursday Night Football versus the New York Football Giants. So he is off the list, but he's an honorable mention. Expect him to be back at some point on this list if he continues to play the consistent football that he's played throughout the first portion of this season. And lastly, the Patriot guards, Trey Jackson, Shaq Mason. These guys are interchangeable parts along that Patriots offensive line right now, and they've played some really good football. Haven't heard a lot about Tom Brady being under duress. They carved up the Jacksonville Jaguars to the tune of 51 points, and they're a huge part of the reason why they're getting it done. You don't hear a lot of noise because guys are doing their jobs, and so those Patriot rookie guards deserve some credit out there in New England. But that's your rookie wall for week number 3. We'll do this again next week. We'll see what rookies rise, what rookies fall. It's the rookie wall. We'll take a quick break, come back, jump into the list. On the other side of this break, you are listening to the In the Lab Room podcast, a function of the Louis T Network. Life is all about decisions. Decisions are filled with if-then statements. So let me help you make some great decisions. If you are listening to this podcast, then you are probably an NFL fan. If you're an NFL fan, then you'd probably like my YouTube channel. Check out the Louis T Network on YouTube. LOUIE space TEE. And subscribe while you're there. All 32 teams, something for everyone. You'll enjoy the channel. If you like my YouTube channel, then you should check out my website, louistnetwork.com, which is where you can find this pod and other NFL-related items. And while you're at it, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room, like this podcast, and like the Facebook page In the Lab Room. Again, like this podcast, which you should also download on iTunes. That was staple button easy. Now, if only life's decisions were that easy. Welcome back to the program. When did it become a crime to joke around with a player? Now, I didn't have a chance to catch the Cam Newton presser after the game, their Week 3 win versus the New Orleans Saints. But, of course, I've heard that he mentioned Ed Hockley, referee Ed Hockley. We all love Ed. You know, Ed is juiced up. You know, very, very loquacious, loves to talk. But Cam spilled the beans about Ed potentially, and I'm pretty sure Ed said this. I mean, I don't think Cam Newton has any reason to lie. That he told him he's too young to get a call. Ed was probably being tongue-in-cheek. He was probably kidding with him. I don't know if Cam said it as a joke. And it's one of two things. Cam was either being naive and really didn't understand that he can't say that to the media because it's going to be blown out of proportion. There's going to be a backlash. And now Ed Hockley could potentially be suspended. There could be a fine. There could be a number of things that could happen. Sanctions that could be brought down on Ed Hockley behind this. So either he's naive in that sense or he wasn't happy with the comment. Took it to heart. Took offense to it, and wanted to get Ed Hockley in trouble. I'm hoping it's the former, not the latter, because, again, referees have a relationship with players, or at least you'd like to think that they do, where you can say some things in jest and not have it get out to the masses. This is a conversation between me and you, and it should stay that way. And I'd like to think that Ed Hockley was just joking, but obviously, Cam Newton didn't think it was a laughing matter. And I hope nothing happens to Ed Hockley. I don't think that he deserves to be penalized for this. And it's funny that we've been talking about penalties on the program today, but I don't think there should be any sanctions here or, you know, Ed Hockley should miss a game check over this. I think this is a situation where cooler heads need to prevail. Everybody needs to take a chill pill. Let's move on. Nothing to see here, folks. Don't make me start a petition to free Ed Hockley now. Don't make me do it. I'll do it. Don't make me do it. We'll be like the Brady petitioners outside of the New York offices in the court building, holding up signs. Don't make me do it. I'll do it now. Let's move on to the list. I'm feeling real listy this week. We've already went down the rookie wall and listed our 7 best rookies thus far in this NFL season. Now we're going to list the 7 best home field advantages in the National Football League. This is a tough list to decipher, to break down, to rank, because there are some teams with a distinct home field advantage. We're just talking regular season, folks. We're not talking postseason, because just about every team on this list has lost a home postseason game or hasn't even hosted one over the last 2 seasons. So I don't want to, with the exception of about 2 teams on this list, everyone's lost a home postseason game or hasn't even had one. So we're talking regular season here, folks. Toughest places to go play a football game and get a win. We start at number 7. This is a 2-way tie. I couldn't leave either one of these teams off this list, so both of them come in at number 7. We're going to start first with the Denver Broncos. And I just know it as Mile High Stadium. Okay? I'm old school. It's Mile High to me, but these sponsors pay a lot of money to have their name put on these stadiums. So I'm going to respect the money that they're spending and call it by its government name, Sports Authority Field at Mile High. You call it what you want. All I know is that's a tough place to play. Since Peyton Manning has taken over the reins as Denver Broncos quarterback, he's 17-1 at home. The only loss came in 2013 when this team on Thursday night was upset by a starving and desperate San Diego Chargers team that ended up making the postseason. That had to have that game. Played the perfect game. They pitched a perfect shutout that night. Kept the ball out of Peyton Manning's hands. Won the football game. Other than that, that's the only blemish on Manning's record at home as a Broncos quarterback. They were undefeated last year at home. They were 7-1 the year before, and they're 1-0 this year. Going to be tough for anyone to go into that stadium with that defense. And oh yeah, by the way, they still have Peyton Manning, and win at Mile High or Sports Authority Field at Mile High. Good luck. You're going to need it. Tied with them at number 7, their AFC West family member, the Kansas City Chiefs. Arrowhead Stadium is a nightmare for opposing teams. Many teams go in there thinking they can handle the elements, the crowd, the sea of red. Look, this is one of those few stadiums where other teams don't infiltrate this stadium. The Steelers travel well, the Packers travel well. There are teams that they take their whole entire fan base with them on the road. But this is one of the few stadiums where you're just boxed out. Fans aren't selling tickets to Chiefs games. Okay? They show up in unison, and they make a bunch of noise. They've set the record before. Wouldn't be surprised if they set it again for the loudest outdoor stadium in the NFL. This is a tough place to play with that defense, with Alex Smith taking care of the football for the most part, with their special teams being as dangerous as it's been over the last 2 seasons. This is a dangerous team, and when you put them in that environment at Arrowhead, and it's been a tough place to play forever, Arrowhead is still one of the toughest venues to go in and get a win. They've beat Aaron Rodgers. They destroyed the Patriots last year. They embarrassed Tom Brady. They were part of the reasons why the Patriots got their act together. That Monday night dismemberment of the Patriots might have been the single most impressive win of last season during the regular season. So this is a really tough place as a road team to go and get a win. Arrowhead Stadium comes in tied for number 7 with the Denver Broncos and Mile High Stadium. Sports Authority Field at Mile High Stadium. You look at number 6. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has wins that you have to contend with like the Buffalo Bills. in Ralph Wilson Stadium. The Bills come in at number 6, Ralph Wilson Stadium. The Ralph. Big time advantage for the Bills, especially as we get later into the season. It just becomes that much tougher to play in Buffalo. Those winds start howling and gusting, and you've got to throw tight spirals to cut through that wind. It's an advantage for the Bills. They're used to it. And not to mention, they play outstanding defense. They've got a loyal fan base. They make noise. It's really weary out there, dreary even. You go out there and you can easily get lost and score 10 or 13 points. Axe Aaron Rodgers, they did it last year. Axe Tom Brady, they struggle with the Bills annually in Buffalo every year. Now, yeah, they just put up 37 points or whatever it was last week, 40. But they had to work for that. They won by 8. It was a tough ball game. They were up big, but the Bills made them work. It's a tough environment every year. Seasons go there to die. Ask Miami. Their season has died there for the last couple of seasons. Teams don't have a lot of success in Buffalo. With that defense, with those wins, it's cold, it's balmy, the fans, it's just all of those ingredients packaged into one, and you get the Ralph, and you get the Bills coming in at number 6 as the best home field advantage. You go to number 5. It's Paul Brown Stadium, Cincinnati Bengals. The jungle! Welcome to the jungle! Can't you understand? A lot of teams go into the jungle, but few come out with W's. A lot of people don't realize Bengals at home, tough outfit. Peyton Manning found that out last year. Tom Brady found that out a couple years back. It's not an easy place to play football, folks. A lot of good teams have went in. A lot of good teams have come out with L's. You can get Andy Dalton to make some mistakes. You can have their running back, Jeremy Hill, fumble the football on the road. But at home, for the most part, this team takes care of business. Now, they had a nasty showing, just embarrassing, on a Thursday night last year versus the Browns. But for the most part, this Cincinnati Bengals team in the jungle at Paul Brown Stadium holds it down and gets W's. That's a tough place to play. They come in at number 5, best home field advantage. You look at the 4th best home field advantage in the National Football League here on the In the Lab Room podcast. The New England Patriots, Gillette Stadium. Does anybody call it Gillette Stadium, though? And I don't actually know what the nickname for the stadium is. It could be the Let. But everybody just says Foxborough, which is where the stadium is located. You don't want to go to Foxborough. No, you don't want to go to Foxborough. I mean, when's the last time the Patriots lost there anyway in the regular season? Don't ask me. I don't know. Seems like they win every time they play there. And I'm pretty sure somebody jumped up and bit them not too long ago in Foxborough. But, I know for sure they should have lost to the Saints last year at home. They had a miracle comeback, late stages of the game to win. But forget about all of that. Or that might have been 2 years ago. Because I believe they played the NFC North last year. So I think that was 2 seasons ago. But nonetheless, they win a lot of games at home. And the colder it gets, the later in the season it gets, the tougher it becomes to win in Foxborough. It's nothing to play a December game in Foxborough and have to deal with 6 inches of snow on the ground. Good luck. The Patriots always seem to be able to handle that well, but the opposition usually doesn't. So they have numerous advantages in Foxborough. They just get it done there. Plain and simple. You go in, you think you got a shot, but you don't. And that's generally how it goes in Foxborough with Tom Brady under center. Fourth best home field advantage. You go to the third best home field advantage. It's the Green Bay Packers and Lambeau Field. And you know you've got a historic field when your field's name resonates and you don't even need a nickname. It's just Lambeau Field. They named an actual celebration after the field. That's how historic this stadium is. And it's just a brutal place to try to go and get a win. Face it, Aaron Rodgers and company, they're outstanding at home. They just get it done. You say to yourself, okay, Packers might be able to lose this week. Hey, where's the game? It's at Lambeau. Never mind. Don't worry about it. I mean, that's how you feel when you figure out the Packers. They got a tough game this week. You say to yourself, okay, Packers got Kansas City. Oh, yeah, that's a rough game. Where's the game at? It's in Lambeau. Okay, never mind. No, they're winning that game. You can beat the Green Bay Packers. They're not invincible. Just not at home. Okay? You can beat them anywhere. The Vikings can beat them in Minnesota. The Lions can beat them. Well, the Lions just don't. But they got a shot in Detroit. The Bears have a shot in Chicago. They played the Packers tough week 1 in Chicago at Soldier Field. But do we not remember what they did to the Bears at Lambeau last year? That score was like 50-0 at halftime. That's what the Packers do at home. They take good teams and they disassemble them at home. They Lambeau leap on you. Aaron Rodgers throws for 5 touchdown passes like he just did on Monday night versus the Chiefs. That's a really good defense. You couldn't tell because they were in Lambeau and Aaron Rodgers shredded them. Aaron Rodgers went to Kansas City 2 years ago and only mustered 13 points and they lost. Or was it 10? Whatever the case, he struggled. It happens, but not in Green Bay. Lambeau Field, third best home field advantage. Number 2, and this is going to surprise a lot of people because you're expecting this to be number 1, but it's not. CenturyLink Field, Seattle Seahawks. Teams aren't afraid to go into Seattle anymore. It's still a very intimidating stadium and home field advantage, granted. But I think there's somebody better out there. I think there's another stadium that is even more terrifying to go into, a team that plays even better football than the Seahawks do at home. But we'll get to them in a second. Let's talk Seahawks football, though. That's a very daunting task. One that the Detroit Lions are going to have to face in week 4. They're 0-3. They need a win. Good luck. You're going to need it. On the road, in Seattle, and you're winless. And, oh yeah, by the way, they just got Cam Chancellor back. They're starting to feel good about themselves. They got their first win of the season. They're going to be playing with a lot more confidence. That stadium is always loud. It seems like it's always wet. And it seems like that defense plays 10 times better when they're at home. They feed off of the energy of the crowd. It's just a tough environment to go into and win. You don't want to be in the Hawks' nest. You go there and you don't survive and thrive in that environment. Only 2 teams have in the last 2 seasons. Cowboys did it last year. Cardinals did it the season before that. That's it. 2 teams. Last 2 seasons. It's a very loud environment. Deafening. Let them make a big play there, and you can't even hear yourself think. Let alone hear the cadence of the quarterback. A lot of penalties happen there. A lot of delay of games. A lot of timeouts taken before you're ready to use them. It's just a really tough place to go. Brutally tough to go and get a win. And they thrive and they feed off of that energy of the crowd. They call themselves the 12th man. They share that distinction with the Texas A&M crowd. But I'm not fighting over who's the 12th man. That's a tough place to play. CenturyLink Field, Seattle Seahawks, second best home field advantage in the National Football League. But they're not number 1 anymore. That distinction goes to the University of Phoenix Stadium and the Arizona Cardinals. That red bird nest, my goodness. You don't want to go there anymore. With Carson Palmer healthy, it's all but impossible to go in there and win. Right now, you ask me, where's the one place I don't want to take an iffy quarterback, an iffy team into to try to go and get a win? I'm telling you, it's Arizona. Hands down, without a doubt. Did you see what they did to a family member? If they'll do that to a family member, what do you think they'll do to you? 47-7. If you got up, went to the fridge, got you a beverage and a hot ham and cheese sandwich, and came back, it was already 21-0. 21 donut. 2 pick sixes on the first 2 possessions of the game for Colin Kaepernick. That's a family member. A team that they usually struggle with. 4 interceptions. 3 of them in the first half. They were up 31-7 at halftime. No mercy. These guys, they're heartless. They're ruthless. They don't care. At home, they don't care. And I'm telling you right now, if Carson Palmer's healthy, I don't think they have a loss in the last 2 seasons at home. Last year, their only loss was to Seattle late in the season. No Carson Palmer. Hell, there wasn't even a Drew Stanton in that game. That was some Ryan Lindley. Yuck. Disgusting. But I'm telling you right now, I don't see them losing at home this year. I don't see Seattle coming in there and winning if Carson Palmer's healthy. You saw what they did to San Francisco already. They got St. Louis this week. I'm expecting them to meet a similar fate. Not nearly as bad. Their defense isn't going to allow that game to get out of control like that. And I don't think Nicholas Foles is going to throw 4 interceptions. But anything's possible with that Cardinals defense flying around, them playing the type of football that they play at home, that crowd getting into it. It's just a different feel out there. I've watched teams go out there in the desert and die. I've seen that. They see mirages. They see images that look like the end zone, but they never get in. They're dying. They're thirsty for the end zone. They can't get that drink of end zone. Cardinals aren't giving it up in the desert, man. Tough place to play. To me, the toughest in the league. You want to win? Don't go to Arizona. Take your chances in Seattle. Don't go to Arizona. Because you're not getting one. That's a scary group when they're at home. That's a scary bunch. You want to win? My advice to you, don't go to Arizona. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. And so that's my list of the best home field advantages in the National Football League. Quickly recapping, number 7, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs sharing that distinction at number 7, Mile High Stadium or Sports Authority Field at Mile High, and Arrowhead coming in at number 7. Ralph Wilson Stadium coming in at number 6, Buffalo Bills Stadium, tough place to play. Coming in at number 5, Cincinnati Bengals and Paul Brown Stadium, the jungle, welcome to the jungle. Coming in at number 5. Number 4, the New England Patriots in Gillette Stadium or Foxborough. You don't want to go to Foxborough. Not with Brady and company there. Number 3, Green Bay Packers and Lambeau Field. A-Rod has just a ridiculous streak right now at home of no interceptions and a bunch of touchdown passes. Don't go there. It's not safe. Number 2, Seattle Seahawks and CenturyLink Field. We know about the advantage that stadium has given the Seahawks over the last 4 seasons or so. It's becoming a bit of a rites of passage, so to speak. You know that you're going to struggle when you go to Seattle. If you don't play your best brand of football, mistake-free football, you're probably not going to win there. Simple as that. And number one, the best home field advantage to me in the National Football League as it stands right now, the Arizona Cardinals and the University of Phoenix Stadium. That red nest is right now the toughest place to go and get a W. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Actually, I would. If I need a divisional team to take an L, I'm sending them to Arizona. Take your ass to Arizona, get your brains bashed in, and then come play me. You're going to get battered. You're going to get bruised. Your mental state is going to be upside down. They're going to turn you over. Even Larry Fitzgerald has had a rejuvenation this season. That's just unbelievable what's going on in Arizona right now. Don't go there. Not smart. Don't do that. So, we move on from the list to get them. Get them, get them, get them. Get them, hit them, get them. Yak them, yak them, yak them, yak them. I got to get them. I got to attack some teams and some players because their performances in week 3 simply unacceptable. So, I've got to get a few entities here. We're going to start with the Chicago Bears. The Bears. That was pathetic. Now, the reason why I'm not going to beat them up as much as I actually want to is because look at that roster. You tell me that is not the worst semblance of talent in this league right now. And we're just talking about healthy bodies. Okay, if everyone were healthy in Chicago, we're not having this discussion. If Kevin White's healthy, if Alshon Jeffrey, never ever trust a man with 2 first names, is healthy, if Jay Cutler's healthy, this is a different football team. But they're not. And so you've got Jimmy Clausen at quarterback, you've got Josh Bellamy, Marquise Wilson, and Eddie Royal at receiver. Ouch. Whew. And you've got a young defense that it's the blind leading the blind. Just a lot of young football players out there and really no leader. You got Jared Allen out there. He's now a Carolina Panther. They just traded him. They've basically waved the white flag in Chicago. They've given up on the season, and they're 0-3, and they know they're a bad football team. They understand what this is. That was a terrible performance, though. 9 possessions, 9 punts. You don't score any points. You get shut out. You never really look like you had a chance on offense the entire day. They looked like a defeated team against Seattle. That game was not fun to watch. I'm not going to attack the Bears like I want to because they just don't have enough. They don't. They understand that this season is a lost cause and they don't have enough talent. So I'm not going to pile on them. I'm not going to kick a man while he's down. That's a bad football team, folks. They're the worst team in the league right now, in case you didn't know. And there's some bad teams around the league. None worse than the Bears, though. That's a bad situation. They got the Raiders coming to town. I'm going to talk to the Raiders a little bit later on. But they're probably going to lose that game, too. And if they can't beat the Raiders, I'm here to tell you. If you can't beat the Raiders, and I don't want to make it seem like it's the same old Raiders because it's not. But if you can't beat the Raiders at home, who the hell are you going to beat this season? And I'm figuring Alshon Jeffrey, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Going to be back at some point. So is Jay Cutler. And they'll be able to beat someone. But, man, I tell you what. I don't know who's going to be. They're talking about other guys potentially being on the trading block like a Matt Forte. They're claiming these guys aren't for sale yet. Yet is the operative word there. They lose 2 or 3 more games before that trading deadline, and they're 0-6. And those commodities that they have are going to turn into draft picks because they're going to trade them away. Watch it. Watch that situation. Well, I'm not going to attack them like I should. Let's move on to the next team. I'm definitely going to attack this team, though. The damn Miami Dolphins. What the hell was that? Okay? What in the hell was that at home, home opener against a divisional opponent. That's family business, and you let them come into your house and disrespect you like that? Since when is that cool? To get a 40 burger dropped on you at the crib in the home opener. Joe Philbin is on the hot seat, man. If there's a coach that can get it in season, it's Joe Philbin. That was ugly. And he was already on the hot seat before the season started, and everybody was picking the Dolphins as their Cinderella darling team in the AFC to make some noise, potentially unseat the New England Patriots. Hell, I even drunk a little bit of the Kool-Aid. I'm not going to even lie to you. I took a sip. But I put that cup down a long time ago. After week 1, them narrowly escaping defeat of the Washington Redskins, that was not a good performance. Then you lose to Jacksonville in week 2? Again, what the hell is up with that? You can't lose to Jacksonville. You want to make noise in the AFC? You want to challenge the Patriots? You can't lose to Jacksonville. I don't give a damn where that game is. Home, away, London, I don't care. You can't lose to them. But you did. Then you turn around and you follow that up with the dud at home against a family member? The Bills assaulted you in your own house, sodomized you. 41-14. You got your brains bashed in. It was 24-7 at halftime. That is unbelievable. Matter of fact, it was 24-0 at halftime. You didn't score your first points to the third quarter. Unbelievable. That was probably one of the worst performances of week 3. Jacksonville got their brains bashed in. We expected that, okay? They were playing New England on the road. You expected that. The Bears didn't even score in Seattle. I didn't bat an eye at that. But you get your ass whooped. Hell, the 49ers got beat 47-7. They were on the road in the hardest place to play in the NFL. You were at home. You were at home for the first time all year. Unbelievable. And Ndamukong Suh, where is he? I need him to show up. I need that defense. How about the whole defense stand up and actually start making some plays? This is a sad state of affairs in Miami right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't get your act together, this season is going to go to hell in a handbasket. And your coach is going to get fired. And this team is going to be in total disarray. And maybe he needs to be fired. Maybe Joe Philbin needs to be canned, handed his pink slip, and somebody needs to come in and turn this thing around. Maybe that needs to happen. But you can't be ready to give up on this season yet. You're only 1-2. The sky is not falling in Miami just yet. But I'm going to tell you what. You got another home game against another divisional opponent in the Jets, a team that you're looking up to in the standings, not only in the AFC but in your division. You don't win this game, for all intents and purposes, your season is done. Because you'll be 0-2 in the division. You'll be 1-3 overall. And more importantly, you'll be 0-2 at home in the division. You only get 6 division games, 3 of which are at home. You'll be 0-2 at home in the division. Try turning that around. Miami, I'm going to say this to you one time only. You better tighten your ass up. Kyle Brenza, field goal kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dude, seriously? That's how you feel? First of all, I'm so disappointed in you. You're a golden domer, okay? I hold you to a higher standard than most. So from that fact alone, just you being from Notre Dame, you're supposed to be better. Now, the Buccaneers, they went out on a limb. They traded for you from Detroit. They had kickers that were capable of getting the job done in Tampa Bay before you got there. I actually was disappointed that they traded for you as if they already didn't have kickers in-house that could get it done. So that was a little disappointing. But they got rid of both of their kickers and brought you in. Because you had the big leg and they thought that you could change the game. Now, one game doesn't make or break a field goal kicker, and you're a young one, so they understand, hell, you made a 58-yard field goal, son, in this game. You drilled it from 58. You had me screaming. Early in the ball game, I'm like, look at Kyle Brenza banging it from 58 on the road. Hell yeah, Kyle. Then you proceeded to miss an extra point and 3 consecutive field goals in the game, costing your team the football game. God damn it, Kyle. That Buccaneers squad is not good enough for you to be missing. First of all, you can't miss extra points, dude. That's not allowed. That game should have been knotted up at 10. You should not have been trailing 9-10 for the majority of that game. It should have been 10 all. That changes everything in that game. But you missed. Okay, fine, you missed the extra point. Make your field goals, dude. You can't miss 3 in a row. And the one at the end, I shouldn't even count it because they were looking for you. They were down 2 scores. They needed a field goal, onside kick, and then get the football back. But I don't care. You missed 3 field goals and an extra point. What the hell, man? Seriously. If you want to stay in this league, it's a make or miss league. Straight up. It's a make or miss league. As a field goal kicker, you only get so many chances because guess what? Kickers come a dime a dozen. Even though when you find a good one, you better hold on to him. If you don't have a good kicker, you'll hit the streets and you'll find a guy that can replace the one that you already have. Your rope just got exponentially shorter last week. Bucks still have confidence in you because you've got a huge leg. You made a 58-yard field goal. I can't reiterate that enough. But you can't miss 3 kicks, dude. You can't miss extra points. Not in ball games like that where you got a legitimate shot of winning, but because you are killing momentum and missing, not only are you missing kicks, taking points off the scoreboard, you're giving up field position. Hey, Kyle, make your kicks, man. Damn. And last but not least, God damn it, Colin Kaepernick. What in the hell was that? Damn it, man. That was atrocious. You want to tell you? Look, I'm going to tell you something that's funny. I had a 49ers fan ask me, and I was at the barbershop. 49ers fan, and he's one of the barbers at the barbershop. He said, man, what you think about Colin Kaepernick so far in the season? Because I talked to him before the season started, and these are my exact words to him pre-week 1, right before the season started. I said, look, man, I keep trying to tell people you're not, and when I say I'm talking about the 49ers, you're not as bad as everybody thinks because you've lost all these players in the offseason and the defense looks different. You're not as bad as everybody wants you to be, that everybody's making you out to be. But the thing that scares me with this team is I don't see the maturation from Colin Kaepernick. That's the one thing that scares me. He said, really? You think so? I said, look, man, your team has been drafting for these situations. You still got talent on this football team. You went out and got Torrey Smith in the offseason. Anquan Bolden is still Anquan Bolden. Vernon Davis is back. You've been drafting offensive linemen and stashing them away like the kid out of Clemson. You've got stuff. You'll be fine. Defensively, you drafted well. You've got pieces. You'll be fine. A lot of young guys in that secondary that make me nervous, but you'll be fine. The problem with this team is going to be Colin Kaepernick. That's what I told him. Then they go out and they surprise me. Colin Kaepernick looks solid in week 1 versus Minnesota. They dominate, win 20-3. And I'm like, maybe he has learned some things in the offseason. Then I watch him against the Steelers. Not bad again. I really didn't think he had done much wrong in that game as much as it was as a team, they were just bad in that game. Defense couldn't get any stops. They kept turning the ball over. It is what it is. But this week, I'm like, man, you're not He's not even running read option correctly. There were at least 3 or 4 different times throughout the course of that game where I'm like, dude, if you pull that ball out and run it like you used to, 25, 30 yards of free real estate to the outside. And he actually pulled it out for a touchdown when it was way too late, when they were already down like 31-0. Then he decides, I'm going to pull it out of the belly now and run it in for a touchdown. You should have done that earlier in the game when it actually mattered. Now it's too late. So he's not even doing that correctly anymore. But my goodness, 4 interceptions, 2 of them to the crib. You can't do that. And he's been in the league too long to be making the type of mistakes he's making. He's throwing late to the outside. And to compound matters, he's throwing inside, outside. You can't throw to the inside of a receiver when you're throwing an outbreaking route to the outside. Are you crazy or just stupid? You're asking for trouble when you do that. Those get picked off and get taken to the crib. Those are house calls. That's what we call them. House calls. 2 of them were made against you on Sunday. 47-7. Come on, man. This 49ers team, are they the 49ers of old? Hell no. We know that. We already have come to that realization. But they're not bad enough to lose the way that they lost the last 2 weeks. Got their brains bashed in at Pittsburgh last week. Followed that up with an even worse performance against Arizona. You got 49ers fans ready to jump off of a bridge today. It was that bad. And a lot of guys, a lot of fans in San Francisco, they're ready to jump off of the Colin Kaepernick and have been for quite some time ready to jump off of that bandwagon. And if you keep having performances like this, the organization is going to be ready to jump off of the Colin Kaepernick bandwagon. Don't let the contract fool you out there, people. They can get from under that contract. And if he keeps playing like this, he will no longer be a member of the San Francisco 49ers. Or at least he won't be starting. That's for damn sure. That was pathetic. Colin Kaepernick, you got to be better than that, man. Yikes. And that's get him, man. That was pathetic, Colin Kaepernick. You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to keep calling you by your whole goddamn name with performances like that. You're Colin Kaepernick now. You're not Cap. You're not Kaepernick. You're Colin Kaepernick. Call you by your entire government name. That was piss poor. Challenge flag. Last topic of the day. Last segment. Challenge flag. This is where I challenge teams, players, whomever. I got to pull that red challenge flag and challenge them. And I'm going to challenge you first. I'm going to throw the challenge flag on you out there. You, the listener. If you're listening to this podcast, tweet me at In the Lab Room. Leave me a message on Facebook, In the Lab Room. Leave me a message on my YouTube channel about the podcast. Give me any suggestions that you may have, any comments, concerns, anything. I will read them on this program, and if you come up with a good enough suggestion, hell, I will use it on this program. So I'm throwing the challenge flag to you out there. Be a part of the show. Get in on the fun. With that being said, I want to throw the challenge flag first and foremost to the Baltimore Ravens. You start off week 4 of the National Football League on the road at Pittsburgh. You're 0-3. For all intents and purposes, your season is done. 0-3 is a death sentence in the National Football League. Teams don't come back from that. However, your situation is a little unique in the sense that with Ben Roethlisberger going down, you've got a shot. It's a slim one. With the Cleveland Browns having an identity crisis, with the Steelers now dealing with a huge loss at the quarterback position to Ben Roethlisberger, and the Cincinnati Bengals just being the Cincinnati Bengals, you're not dead yet. Now, you may not win this division. I will go on record now and say you're not winning the division. But you don't have to be dead quite yet. But the only chance you have is to get hot and to get hot fast. And you got to start on Thursday on the road at Pittsburgh. Now, is that a daunting task? Absolutely. But it just got a little bit easier with Ben Roethlisberger being out of the lineup. I challenge you to go on the road Thursday night and salvage what's left of your season. You may not make the postseason. You're definitely not winning the AFC North now after your loss at home to the Cincinnati Bengals in week number 3. However, your season doesn't have to be over yet. You're not like the Detroit Lions. You're not like the New Orleans Saints. You're not like some of these other 0-3 outfits out there that their season is definitely done. They can't do anything about it. You have an opportunity to save face. But it starts on Thursday versus the Steelers on the road, and you got to have that one. You drop to 0-4, and I'm burying you, and I'm putting the tombstone, here lies the Baltimore Ravens 2015 season. So I'm throwing a challenge flag. It's out there. Referees have seen it. They've stopped play. Go win the game on Thursday versus the Steelers. Challenge flag in that same game. Opposite sideline, Michael Vick. First things first, I'm throwing a challenge flag out there to Mike Vick. Shut the door on the Ravens season. Slam it shut. Put the last bit of dirt on that coffin. Put the tombstone in the ground, and I'll engrave the headstone for you. Go ahead and do that. Slam the door. A solid performance. You don't have to go out there and be all world. Just a solid performance. You've got enough talent around you. L.B, Tones, and company will do the rest. You just get the football into the hands of playmakers. Don't turn it over. The defense is flying around right now. You can do enough to win that football game. You don't have to play out of your mind. This doesn't have to be the Vic experience. We're not turning back the clock to 2004. All I'm asking you to do is come in and steady the ship. And you can start by slamming the door on the Ravens season and putting them to rest on Thursday night. At home, primetime matchup. Now, I want to take a look at the next 5 games because let's just assume, for the sake of assuming, that Ben Roethlisberger is out for the next month of football, including Baltimore. We're going to go 5 games. Home for Baltimore, Thursday night football. At San Diego in week number 5. Back home for Arizona. At Kansas City. Back home for Cincinnati. That's tough football. That's real tough football. Every single one of those teams plays some amount of defense and can score the football. Hell, even Kansas City can score the football now. And you know they play defense and they can get after your quarterback. You've got 2 divisional games in that stretch, both at home, so you need to get those for sure. And you've got 3 home games, and the 2 roadies are toughies. San Diego and Kansas City, both AFC West opponents. So all I'm asking you to do is steady the ship, Mike. I'm not asking you to go 5-0 in that stretch. It'd be nice if you could, but that's probably unreasonable to ask of you. 4-1, 3-2 will do just fine. Now you need to pick the 3 that you're going to win. If you're going to drop a couple in this stretch, Arizona at home, that's an NFC game, number 1. Go ahead and drop that one if you're going to drop one. San Diego on the road, maybe. Kansas City on the road, maybe. Can't lose to Baltimore at home. You can't lose to Cincinnati at home. Can't have it. Those are divisional games. They're at home. You got to have them. So I'm throwing a challenge flag out there to you, Mike Vick. Steady the ship and shut the door closed on the Ravens season. 5-game stretch. I'm asking you to go 3-2, 4-1. Hell, 5-0, and you're a miracle worker, and you will be put on a pedestal in Pittsburgh. I'm challenging you, Mike. Stand up to the challenge. Oakland Raiders, challenge flag. You've won 2 in a row against 2 AFC North opponents. Very impressive on the offensive side. The defense leaves a lot to be desired. Here's a chance for your defense to get healthy, make some plays, gain some confidence, and keep the ball rolling on the offensive side of football. You're at Chicago, arguably the worst team in the league. They've waved the white flag on the season already. They're 0-3. They've waved the white flag. They understand that their season is done. They've mixed no words. They've made no qualms about it. They know that their season is done. They've started to trade away players. There's rumblings and grumblings that other players that are marquee players are on the trading block. Matt Forte could be gone by week 8. This thing is over in Chicago. They understand it. They're in the rebuilding process and phase. They've given up on the 2015 season, and rightfully so. There's not a lot of hope in Chicago right now. Go in there, take their heart early, get them out of the ball game. Don't give them a chance. Don't let them linger in this game. Don't let them hang around. The one thing you can't give a man that is starving for a victory is hope. You let a team hang around, they start believing in themselves. Now you got a dogfight on your hands. Keep in mind, you're on the road. You're not home here. So don't give them any chances. Take it to them and take it to them early. Get them out of the ball game. Put them to rest. Put them to sleep. Put them to bed. Read them a story. Get them out of there. Win 3 in a row. Show that you're a different Raiders team than past years. Don't blow a golden opportunity to go to 3-1 on the season and set up a huge matchup versus the Denver Broncos. Do that. Set that up. Don't overlook the Bears. Destroy them. Run through them. Rip their heads off. Take all the stuffing out of the bear. Throw it around like confetti. Have fun. Win that game with confidence in 3 wins in a row and get ready for the Denver Broncos at home. Biggest game of the season by far. Probably the biggest game in Oakland Raiders regular season in the last 10 years. Do that. I'm challenging you to destroy a downtrodden Chicago Bears team on the road. Get it done. And finally, last challenge flag, Detroit Lions. Look, I'm not asking you to win this game, okay? I just don't see it happening. You guys don't have enough. You're not where you need to be mentally. You're not making enough plays. And oh yeah, by the way, it's Seattle on the road. You're not going to win. However, show some fight. You're 0-3. I know your season's done. You're done, okay? I've stuck a fork in you already. Show some fight, though. You still got a couple of primetime games. I got to watch you on Thanksgiving. I got to watch you on Monday night. Show some fight, okay? Make this a worthwhile game. Don't put me to sleep on Monday night. Don't come out, get drubbed, have the stadium, the fans, and the environment be too much and overwhelming and get down 21-3 by halftime. Don't do that. Show some fight, show some resolve, make it a ball game. You're going to fall, most likely, but at least show that you haven't quit on the season. It's too early for that. Your season is done, but don't show us that it's done in this game. Show some fight, show some resolve, make this a ball game. That's all I have. That's all I want. I know you're not going to win. I'm not expecting you to win. Just show some fight. I know you're 0-3. It's really bleak right now. You were a playoff team last year. Very disappointed how this season has started. You did that. You did that to yourself. I'm not here to make any excuses for you. I'm not here to hear you make excuses for yourself. Just be competitive on Monday. I got to watch it. I can't avoid it. It's on Monday Night Football. Be competitive on the road versus Seattle. That's my last challenge flag. That is the 7th installment of the In the Lab Room podcast. That was a lot. That was a lot of fun. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. We'll come back. We'll do this again next week. Break down all of the action from week number 4 in the National Football League and have a whole slew of topics to discuss over next week. I'll see you then. Until next time, this is your man Louis T signing off. See you next week. Enjoy football.
In the Lab Room.